I like to think that no one thing can be blamed for the predicament the world is now facing. An unprecedented health crisis, a new global depression, the shutting down of modern life is something we've accepted with goodwill. What's the point of feeling anger or casting aspersions while we're in the middle of this? That's what I've been trying to tell myself anyway. But that changed last night. Locked indoors like millions of you in London, I read an investigation by the highly regarded Washington, D.C.-based news organisation Axios about the Chinese cover-up over coronavirus. And I'll admit it, I got mad. The TikTok feature detailing how the catastrophic China early cover-up really was has been published by Bethany Allen Ibrahim, who exclusively covers Beijing's influence and intentions for Axios. This was the line that really got me. She wrote, if Chinese authorities had acted 3 weeks earlier than they did, the number of coronavirus cases could have been reduced by 95% and its geographic spread limited. Just like the Chernobyl disaster that exposed to the world the very dangerous shortcomings of the USSR, we cannot forget how the Chinese government allowed the virus to spread while engaging in a despicable cover-up. One of the first coronavirus patients started feeling unwell on December the 10th. So this is just to walk you through what actually went on, because I don't think enough of us know what went on. So the first coronavirus patient feels unwell on December the 10th. The new illness at that point was linked to this infamous wildlife market, now forever connected to the outbreak, 6 days later, so on December the 16th. But health officials in Wuhan weren't told about it until December 27th. Then the cover-up really began. On December the 30th, 2 Wuhan doctors, and I praise those doctors who I hope are still alive, posted information on the Chinese social media service WeChat about the virus, but got in trouble for spreading information. China only closed the market, the live market in question, the live wet market in question, and informed the World Health Organization on New Year's Eve. But on January the 1st, the Wuhan Public Security Bureau reprehended 8 more local doctors for posting information on WeChat, and an official at the Hubei Provincial Health Commission ordered testing to be stopped and samples to be destroyed. So much time was lost. It also took a further week for information from Chinese researchers mapping the new coronavirus to be made public. That took place on January the 9th. Unbelievably, and we know this is unbelievable now given the spread of the virus, the Wuhan Health Commission claimed there were no new cases between January the 11th and January 17th. Yeah, right. But here's the problem. By January 13th, it was already too late. The first case outside of China was reported in Thailand. And on January 15th, someone left Wuhan to the USA carrying coronavirus. So follow this timeline here. So at that point, you've got a case in Thailand, a case in the USA. It's clearly spreading like crazy amongst Wuhan. But on January the 19th, Wuhan still held its Lunar New Year banquet, seeing tens of thousands of people gathering. It was 2 days later, if you were in China, that the administration's People's Daily newspaper mentioned the coronavirus for the first time. And at that point, it seems Beijing started to take it seriously. Citizens were warned that anyone who hides the virus, and this is what they said, out of his or her own self-interest, will be nailed on the pillar of shame for eternity. And Wuhan was finally put into lockdown. But, and again, there's another big problem here. Not before around 5 million people left the city without being screened, and the New Year holiday in China continued until January the 30th, with hundreds and millions of people travelling all over the country. It's too late. As usual, the cover-up was far worse than the crime. Coronavirus was on the loose, not just in China, but around the world. And so as Bethany Allen Ibrahim puts it perfectly, China is now trying to create a narrative that it's an example of how to handle this crisis, when in fact its early actions led to the virus spreading across the globe. That is unforgivable. So I have come to the conclusion that I agree with Michael McCaul, the top Republican on the House Foreign Affairs Committee in the US, who says China has just carried out one of the worst cover-ups in human history. And that's why we're here today, with our country on the verge of a lockdown. So I don't know if you've heard it put like that before, because until I read the Axios piece, I knew bits and pieces about this information. But actually, the cover-up was extraordinary. This is like Chernobyl on speed. So do you blame the Chinese government for covering up the spread of coronavirus? In fact, do you think it was that cover-up that caused the virus to spread? Because I do. So did we need to be here at all? As I said to you at the top of the show in my dispatch, I got angry last night after reading this incredible TikTok by Bethany Allen Ibrahim, who is the China reporter for the Washington, D.C. based news website Axios. Bethany joins me now. Bethany, obviously your role, thank you so much for being here, by the way, your role is specialized on covering the government in Beijing. And it looks like this is now a cover-up of proportions that make Chernobyl look small.
I think that that is certainly true. We have undeniable evidence that this has been a lengthy cover-up. It lasted for weeks. On January 1st, a government official with the Hubei Provincial Health Commission ordered Chinese labs in the province of Hubei to not only stop testing samples of the virus, but to destroy them. Now, by January 2nd,
it's despicable.
Yeah, it is, and before that, just the day before, Chinese doctors had been trying to sound the alarm, trying to message each other, trying to message people publicly to sound the alarm on this virus. Those messages were removed, and the doctors were called into the Public Security Bureau and told not to spread those messages any longer.
Why, Bethany? I mean, that might seem like a stupid question, but at that point, did they genuinely believe they could keep a lid on this virus? Or were they trying to stop the top officials in Beijing from finding out what was going on in Wuhan?
I'm not in their heads. I don't know, but it's very likely the latter. So the way that the Chinese system works is that local government officials, in order to make their superiors, their higher-ups happy, they need to perform, they need to look good. They're not accountable to the people below them, they're accountable to the people above them. And what we've seen time and again is that throughout the system, there is little reward for being honest about problems right away. So what we're seeing is a systemic, a system that rewards censorship, and that's what happened here, most likely.
And now we're seeing this regime that was responsible for this cover-up throw out US journalists from the country who are attempting to do fair and honest reporting about what happened.
That's right, and that's kind of a tit-for-tat media war that's going on between the U.S. government and Beijing. It started back with a Wall Street Journal headline that was not written by any reporter in China that the Chinese government did not like. The headline was, "China is the real sick man of Asia," and that did upset many people in China who believed it was racist. However, the Chinese government took that as an opportunity to kick out 3 Wall Street Journal reporters. The U.S. government responded by essentially, effectively expelling around 60 Chinese government media workers from state-run outlets. And now we have 13 or possibly more U.S. reporters who are American citizens working for the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, now effectively being expelled from China.
The line that really struck me in your feature was when you said that if Chinese authorities had acted just 3 weeks earlier, the number of coronavirus cases could have been reduced by 95%. That's an extraordinary figure. It means we wouldn't be having to battle this international pandemic right now. Do you believe the Chinese government needs to face some type of worldwide revolt?
That statistic comes from a recent study by the University of Southampton, and I think it's not an unreasonable conclusion to say that if the Chinese government had not participated in a cover-up and delayed serious measures, that the epidemic would be far less severe than it is now. I do believe that the Chinese government should be held accountable for those decisions. At the same time, many other governments have also failed to respond effectively, including the U.S. government, which has been heavily criticized for its late response. As some analysts have stated, right now the most important thing to do is to save lives, and we can, assigning blame is not the most important thing right now. However, those who made these very deadly mistakes should be held accountable at some point.
Now, Bethany, your president has come in for some criticism over the way he's been describing the virus. Have a little listen to this, and then I'll get you to react.
Okay, why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. It comes from China. I want to be accurate.
What's your view, Bethany, on this language that President Trump is using?
He did not start referring to it as the Chinese virus until Chinese diplomatic accounts on Twitter, such as Zhao Lijian, who's a deputy spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, started heavily pushing, without any factual basis, the idea that the virus had come from a U.S. military lab that had purposefully planted it in Wuhan. So my understanding is that the U.S. president believes that by doing so, by calling it the Chinese virus, he is emphasizing that it does not originate in the United States. Also, the Chinese government has also officially pushed the idea that the virus may not have come from China. On the other hand, however, we have seen a dramatic rise in racist remarks directed at Chinese people in the United States. Which is wrong,
terrible.
Yes.
And in any of my criticism, Bethany, I want to make it abundantly clear. I am criticizing the Chinese government, this totalitarian regime. This has nothing to do with the Chinese people. And actually, those Chinese doctors deserve so much praise. We don't even know, do we, if some of them are alive if they tried to raise the alarm. And of course, one of them who did, then later did die from coronavirus. So in fact, there are Chinese medical professionals doing some of the most incredible, amazing, inspirational work. But this is about their government.
That's right. The Chinese people have been truly heroic, as have their medical workers, in taking dramatic measures and supporting dramatic measures to beat back the virus. And they have been victims of it, and they don't deserve to be victims of racism around the world as well.
No, they absolutely don't. Well, look, keep up your incredible reporting. That is Bethany Allen Ibrahim, the China reporter at Axios. A legal note, the Chinese government say they have acted responsibly throughout the crisis.